we got ourselves Univine as our author. Univine, the last one we had of theirs was wait, was it? Which one was it? Hold on. Let me double check again. 2515. Which was the Napoleon picture painting that had like a flashlight in it. Or something that was not meant to be, like a technology that was not meant to be in that time period. But anybody who looks at it just thinks it's just part of the norm. Like they suddenly have like an understanding of the art. The more artistic you are, the more understanding of the art you have. But yeah, they would just completely gloss over the fact that he's holding a flashlight or a torch or whatever. Again, something he's not supposed to have from technology-wise. But yeah, that was the last one from Univine. This one is called Demurrage. Let me see if that's actually something if that's something you can pronounce, or if that's
Demurrage.
Demurrage. Sorry, Demurrage. What does that mean, Demurrage? What's the meaning? A common concept is in international shipping. Demurrage is a fee that must be paid when cargo remains at a port or terminal for long and degree. Oh, okay. So like, oh yeah. So okay, gotcha. So it's a it's a fee. It's like for you, yeah, no problem. Okay, Demurrage, let's go. Up to class Euclid, special containment procedures. Due to the anomalous properties of SCP-2566, the long-term storage of SCP-2566 has been deemed inviolable as a containment procedure. At the beginning of each month, the Assistant Quartermaster at Site 11 are to distribute instances of SCP-2566 as bonus pay among designated employees permanently stationed at Site 11. Those employees are to store the instances of SCP-2566 in their personal SCP-2566 temporary storage containers. By the end of each month, those employees are to return the instances of SCP-2566 to the Assistant Quartermaster in exchange for products from Site 11's commissary. RFID tags are to be attached to all instances of SCP-2566 to facilitate the tracking of their current location and ownership by the head quartermaster. And here we have an instance of SCP-2566. Click with detailed view. Yes, please. Oh. It almost looks like a... Almost looks like a maze. You know, like there's like mazes that you have to like find out where like to go, but like... Very interesting look. Huh. Okay. In the event of a catastrophic breach of SCP-2566 containment, use of SCP-2855 has been approved for assistance in recontainment efforts. Description: SCP-2566 designates a set of 1,610 banknotes similar in appearance to US banknotes. Instances of SCP-2566 are visually distinguishable from mundane US banknotes of the same denomination by the presence of a pattern of dark red markings printed on the surface, as we saw. Yeah, it's also very interesting because this banknote definitely looks a lot more red than green, right? The anomalous effects of SCP-2566 manifest when an individual comes into the possession of an SCP-2566 instance, with the consent of the previous possessor of that instance, if applicable. When this occurs, an exclusive anomalous link between that individual and the SCP-2566 instance is established. This link can be terminated only upon that individual's willing transfer of the SCP-2566 instance to another individual. As a result of this link, that individual develops an acute awareness of the SCP-2566 instance, which enables them to perfectly recall the following information at all times. Here we go. The face value of the SCP-2566 instance, the physical location of the SCP-2566 instance, the duration of their possession of the SCP-2566 instance accurate to the day. Wow, okay. Can you imagine just be like yeah, the $1 bill I used to pay for my chewing gum currently is traveling through someone's wallet through like Ohio. And I had that $1 bill for like 5 months, 2 weeks, and 7 days. 2 days. 7 days would be a week. Duh. Once an individual remains in possession of one or more SCP-2566 instances for 40 or more days, they begin to experience anxiety and guilt toward the continued possession of the SCP-2566 instance. The stated subjective severity of this effect is positively correlated with the duration for which that individual has possessed SCP-2566 instances and the combined face value of the SCP-2566 instances. So, okay, I guess the more you have and the longer you keep, the more guilt you feel and anxiety. SCP-2566 instances can also cause individuals to experience anxiety or guilt when an individual takes possession of SCP-2566 instances that have been linked with another individual. This effect manifests regardless of whether the individual did so intentionally or unintentionally. These feelings, described as immediate and much more intense compared to those triggered by long-term possession of SCP-2566 instances, persist until that individual relinquishes possession of the SCP-2566 instances. From the mid-1930s to 2017, SCP-2566 served as the sole means of exchange in Timothy, Nebraska, a rural community with approximately 150 inhabitants. SCP-2566 was introduced to Timothy during the Great Depression by Louis Ingram, a para-economist and member of the Society for Alternative Social Analysis. A defunct early to mid-20th century group of interest, the Society for Alternative Social Analysis was a loosely organized network of para-academics who advocate the usage of anomalies for research in the social sciences. Okay. That's why, like, this was, like, probably around and used in that little town. Well, I'm not sure how big Timothy is. It might be massive. Over the course of the decades prior to his death in 1969, Ingram maintained a supply of SCP-2566 to Timothy and attempted to modify the community's norm as part of a long-term social experiment regarding Demurrage, because of holding currency over a period of time. Owing to the enormous effects of SCP-2566 and Ingram's influence, Timothy developed a unique local culture and an economy isolated from those of surrounding communities. So yeah, I mean, it looks like it's a culture where, like, they will use the money guaranteed. Like, they will not be able to keep. I wonder if you get, like, one of the dollars back somehow, like after, like, time, like if it, like, fluctuates enough and it comes back to you, is you holding on to it being reset, or does it, like, continue from where you left off? As for example, if you have it, so it's, if I recall correctly, it said like 40 days, right? Like after 40 days, you start to feel guilty. So what if you have it for like 35 days, and then you give it away, and then after like maybe like a year or two passes, and you get it back? Does it reset to 0 days, or does it continue from 35 days? The Foundation became aware of SCP-2566 and its role in Timothy in 2015 after the recovery of a clandestine archive of the Society for Alternative Social Analysis. Over the following year, researchers from the Department of Social Sciences conducted a study in Timothy and interviewed its inhabitants. See anomalous demurrage and resulting societal distortion in Timothy 1935 to 2015. In 2016, researchers were instructed to terminate the study and acquire all instances of SCP-2566 for permanent containment. Investment made by a local foundation front company were used to incentivize residents to surrender their instances of SCP-2566 to the foundation and submit to amnestic treatment. I wonder if the foundation will feel the same way, though. If they, I guess if nobody really possesses it, I guess the effect doesn't happen. Like if it's just in the room. But I guess I wonder if it's like whoever last touched it will still have like some sense. I guess not. I guess you have to like physically have it in your possession. Open selected interviews of the inhabitants of Timothy regarding SCP-2566. Interviewed Virginia Miller. Interviewer researcher Brian Carter. Forward. The subject was the proprietor of Johnson General Store, one of several small retail establishments in Timothy. Begin. Okay, so we have researcher Carter. Miss Miller, thank you again for taking the time to speak with us. Could you tell me about what you do here in Timothy? I've been the owner of this shop ever since my father died in 1997. We sell all kinds of odds and ends. If you're looking for it, you can probably find it here. I see. Where you get your merchandise from? Some of it my husband and I make ourselves. For example, see those preservers over there? I made those as well as the baked goods. My husband is responsible for the whiskey on this shelf. We bought some of the other things from our neighbors, like the ethanol and the candles. The rest of the stuff here is used. Do you ever get any shipments of new goods? Greenies are too important to waste on that. Local song for standard US banknotes. First, we repair what we have. If we can't repair what we have, we make it ourselves. And if we can't make it ourselves, we probably don't need it anyways. That's basically our motto here in Timothy. I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. So what do you use the greenies for then? Well, first things first, we have to pay taxes. Don't want to cause any trouble with the feds after all. Besides that, we have to use them sometimes to buy medicine. It's awfully expensive, but we pull our funds together and make it work. Okay, one last question. Who are your customers? Are they mostly locals, or do you ever get any from outside of town? I only accept reds as payment. That must be local slang for, yeah. We only have so much stuff here to go around. We can't exactly afford to be giving out our wares to outsiders now, can we? I see. Well, thank you for speaking with me, Miss Miller. No problem. Feel free to come back whenever you feel like it. And then we have William Schwartz. Also, she's Miss Miller, but she has a husband? So she's not Mrs.? Wait, hold on. Huh. Interesting. Interview researcher Brian Carter. The subject was born in 1931, making him one of Timothy's oldest residents. Begin log. Mr. Schwartz, I really appreciate your offer to talk with us about the story of Timothy. What can you tell me about Louis Ingram? I wasn't personally familiar with Mr. Ingram, but my father was. He told me that when I was little, maybe only 2 or 3 years old, Mr. Ingram came to the town for the first time. That was back during the Great Depression. Times were hard then, and there was hardly enough money to go around. So when Mr. Ingram started talking about how he wanted to start an experiment to get the money flowing, people were willing to hear him out. He told everyone that the reason why times were so hard was because everyone was hoarding their money and wasn't spending enough, and it made sense considering how much food was just sitting around unsold back then. We figured that things couldn't get any worse, so we told Mr. Ingram that we agreed to participate in his experiment, and he came back with his first batch of reds. He told everyone what they were and what they did, and gave 50 worth of reds to everyone in town. How was the town's economy afterwards? At first we weren't too optimistic, but Mr. Ingram's experiment worked. All the towns around us were floundering, but we here in Timothy had more than enough to go around during the Depression. I always remembered how the New Deal men came into the town once and spent the entire day strolling around town looking for something to help us with. They must have never seen anything like it before. Did Louis Ingram ever return to Timothy? Yes, every once in a while he would come by and give us some new reds. Increasing the money supply, as he said. Sometimes he would give talks about how important the reds were for town economy, and we couldn't disagree with him there. He saved us from the Depression, after all. In particular, I remember the day when he got together all of the parents, the teachers, and the pastors and told them that they should teach the children about the reds, since they had never seen the Depression themselves. That was when we started the tradition of gifting to the children. Sorry, I'm not familiar with this gifting tradition. Could you explain this to me in more detail? It's sort of a coming-of-age thing. 6 months before a child reaches a certain age, for my kids it was 10, for some others it's 13. We give them $100 worth of reds. We tell them that if they can hold onto it for 6 months, they get to spend it on their birthday. Otherwise they have to forfeit it. I've never seen anyone make it to 6 months. By 3 or 4 months they're begging and hollering for us to take it back. Of course, we always give them a $100 birthday gifts regardless. It's not about holding on to reds, it's about learning to give reds back to the community. Interesting. Do you ever participate in gifting yourself? I mean, as a child, not as a parent. No. By the time we started gifting, I was already 20 years old. If you want to hear about gifting, maybe you should talk to someone younger than me. Of course. Thank you again for speaking with me, Mr. Schwartz. Anytime. And log Jimmy Baker, researcher Brian Carter. Okay. Topic was 14 years old and had participated in gifting 1 year prior to the interview. Hello, Jimmy. Thank you for letting me interview you. I noticed that not many people here seem to be willing to talk about gifting. No, I guess not. You happen to know why that's the case? Well, I don't know if anyone has told you this, but it's kind of a private thing. It would be like me telling you about my circumcision or something like that. Oh, I see. If that's the case, I won't ask you to talk about gifting if you prefer not to do so. No worries, Dr. Carter. I don't mind talking about it. I don't think that it should be that private, but I understand why others feel that way. So why do others feel that way? The thing about gifting is that it's really shitty experience. You can hold on to Red for like a month and a half and feel alright. Hold on to Red for another month, and then whenever you have a second to spare, you start to think about the Red burning a hole in your pocket. And you then hold on to it for another month, and then you start thinking about getting rid of the Red 24/7. It's like an obsession, and you start losing sleep over it. By the time they get to 5 months, God, it was just fucking awful. So you held onto your Red for 5 months during your gifting? Yeah, in spite of how terrible the experience was. Yes. Could you tell me why? It's like... Okay, don't judge me, but it's like a contest. Every boy tries to show off by holding on to Red for as long as possible. It's... Yeah, it's kind of stupid. No worries, I don't judge, I just observe, Jimmy. You've been very helpful, so if you would prefer not to answer this next question, just let me know. How exactly did you feel about the Red at the end of your 5 months during gifting? It's really hard to describe, Dr. Carter. Best thing I can do is give an analogy. Now, during Sunday school, there's this story that Reverend Paul loves to tell. Reverend Paul's the town's pastor, by the way, in case you didn't know. So back during the time of the apostles, there was this rich couple called Ananias and Sapphira. Sapphira. Dr. Carter, have you heard of this story before? I won't retell it if you know it. I can't say that I'm familiar with it. Please go on. Anyways, what happened was that Ananias and Sapphira sold the land and were going to give the money to St. Peter, but kept some of it for themselves. And Peter told Ananias that Satan made him lie to God, and he died on the spot. Then Sapphira came in, and Peter told her that she was going to die, and she died too. I have no idea what Ananias and Sapphira felt, but I can't imagine that it was all that different. I see. Thank you, Jimmy. That's all for today. You are welcome to talk with me about your experience at any time if you feel like it would help you. No, thank you, Dr. Carter. I really appreciate that you took the time to listen to me. Have a nice afternoon. And log. Wow. Gifting sounds awful. Gifting sounds definitely awful. Reverend Paul Gazelle and Carter once more. The subject is the pastor of the Soul Church in Timothy. Reverend Gazelle, thank you for taking the time to speak to me about your beliefs. Many people here have told me about how you touched their lives. Please, Dr. Carter, call me Paul. In any case, I'll be happy to answer any of your questions. Alright then, Paul. What can you tell me about the Reds? What is their purpose? Well, the first answer is obvious. I'm sure you know how much they have helped this town ever since the Great Depression, and really it shouldn't surprise anyone. There's a biblical precedent, Proverbs 11:24. There is that scattereth, and yet increaseth, and there is that withholdeth more than it is meet, but it tendeth to poverty. And the second answer? Ah, yes, the second answer. The Reds teach us not to sin. When we do not want, we see what is best. We see that what is best is free. This was a lesson that I learned the hard way when I was young. During my gifting, when I was 18. I was able to hold onto my Red for the full 6 months. I don't think that anyone before then or since then managed it. Now in those days I was living in sin. So with my $100 I bought myself a jug of moonshine and a full tank of ethanol. Stole my father's car and ran off with my then girlfriend for a week. Then I came back to Timothy, sneaked back into my house and found that my father had left a $100 Red inside a Bible as a bookmark. Since I managed the 6 months, I thought I would be able to take the Red, but I was wrong. I opened up the Bible and picked the red up, and when I looked at it, it felt like I've seen my own damnation. So I put the red back, and then I saw the words, "For the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life through Jesus Christ our Lord." Reverend Gazelle takes an SCP-2566 instance and holds it in front of Researcher Carter. You see here, this read, "The wages of sin. It is unfortunate that we must do what we do here, but I learned goodness through fear, just like everyone else." End log. What an interesting world. What a town. Like they seem to be like doing really well for themselves. They're very like, it's interesting because like of course the dollar is like a lot of people would argue it's like the symbol of capitalism, right? It's money. You need the dollar to like buy things, you need the dollar to survive, and so on and so forth. The money is important. But there seems to be a town where not only have they seen the value of money, but they still also know the value of not having money, being able to survive without money, being able to just live by with what they need, not what they want. Yeah. So it's almost like the town almost became like Amish in its own way, you know, like they just kind of like, we don't need all this extra stuff. We just need, all we need is, everything we need is right here. And we have found a way to do it with a red dollar that will make us feel bad for keeping it for too long. Yeah, it's like, it's very like, it's very interesting. It's like, it's more like wanting to have a lot of money and needing to just live a normal life, right? Like it's kind of like, it's against the idea of wanting a shit ton of money at once and keeping all that money to yourself. Because it also said like, give the red back. So you don't keep it to yourself, you give it back to the community. The community survives with whatever system they have. Very interesting concept, I gotta say.